So tonight, even though Chris Jericho had his paperwork drawn up to say these two men could not be in the same arena, and that was only like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. Yeah, 3 weeks ago, because 2 weeks ago we were there. So tonight was the night for the contract signing for their unsanctioned match at the pay-per-view, which usually go on last because they cut the lights and stuff. There's no way this main event's the show, right? It has to be the world title match.
My first few notes in here is Jericho has too many spikes on his pants. He can't get his legs on the table. It was so great. Me taking notes is so pointless. It's like I get the dumbest minor details.
Hey man, we both took notes on the red Dodge Ram truck last week. So this starts off, Tony Schiavone says, hey, we all agreed no physicality, which is always weird because the trope was contract signing. Somebody's probably going through a table by the end of it.
Right. Like you have the table in the middle so someone can go through it.
Like
That's just logic.
And we've seen so many other matches happen on the fly where no contract was required. What's the story here?
Whack.
When it comes to the contract, of course, Adam Cole signs it immediately, basically pauses it to Jericho.
He's like, it was like a crackhead being given crack. He was like, oh, your shit. Yeah.
That's when Adam Cole goes on his promo, which I was like, wait, there's got to be more to it. He can't just give it to Jericho and then let Jericho do all the talking, especially if there's not going to be a fight. Yeah. Honestly, he said a lot. I didn't necessarily write down a lot because some of it was very cliche or like redundant point making. He ends up saying Jericho feels invincible. They should be thanking him. It's an unsanctioned match because Jericho's blood is going to be on his hands and not the company's, and that's why, and that's the way he likes it.
That was the best line out of that, and the only one that I really actually took down.
You already kind of mentioned like the majority of the rest of what he said, which was, hey, we're going to see if you can walk because I'm going to break your legs. We're going to see if you can talk because I'm going to shatter that jaw. They kind of stumbled on the next one.
I couldn't remember that next one, but it was something about his hands because he was going to see if he can write or something like that.
Yep.
Next.
And he says, so you better sign this contract right now while you still can.
Bitch. Sign it, bitch. And the crowd just starts chanting, sign it, bitch. Sign it, bitch. Sign it, bitch.
And of course, Jericho, being the veteran in the business, working the crowd, says, I'm no bitch. I'm not from Las Vegas.
Jericho. Yeah, and then, he completely flips. He goes back to his flipping of the Adam Cole letting things happen to Britt.
What kind of man does this?
Yeah, like he's like, what kind of man would let the love of his life get beaten right in front of him? And it's like, dog, you orchestrated the whole thing.
No,
and then
he did have a good line though. He said, I think that head injury that had you out for 9 months really messed with your head. Let me remind you is just so we can play the video again to piss Adam Cole off.
Yeah, and then he shows that clip. And of course, it's like the cut part where you can't see his hands attached to the ring. And it doesn't show Jericho doing anything to him. It just shows Cole watching Britt get beat.
Meanwhile, we come back, you see Jericho just like this big old shit-eating grin on his face, just putting his jaw out, like wanting Adam Cole to hit him. It's not like they ever announced, oh, if he hits you, this happens to him, or the match is canceled.
Yeah, they didn't say anything like that at any point, but that's how they were treating it, though. For sure.
Honestly, if it's an unsanctioned match and it doesn't count like towards your record and everything, there is no difference there. It's not like you lose a match or anything that matters, technically. So fight them now, fight them then.
What kind of man attacks someone at a contract signing, though? What kind of
Every
man does
wrestler in pro wrestling history.
that? What kind of man would do that? Like, I gotta find Jericho clips to see if he's actually, because watch him actually never have done it to someone.
So this whole thing was Jericho ends up saying, "Look, I outsmarted you. No rules. 5 of us, 2 of you." And then Cole says he called somebody that lives in Vegas. And I'm sitting there trying to think of who his friends are that are free agents. I'm like, is Kyle O'Reilly can't be healthy yet, can he? And then I'm like, please tell me they would not bring back Bobby Fish, let alone without Kyle O'Reilly. It makes 0 sense. At this point, I was lost. Who was it?
Completely. They brought out Sabu.
I mean, I know this man never really looked young, even like in like ECW in the late 90s and early 2000s. He did not look like a young man. He looks like he's like too old to be doing much of anything. Either you froze or you haven't moved in a minute.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, he doesn't look believable to be doing anything out there. But it popped me to see that. Just because
it was a shocker.
Yeah. And I haven't seen him since I was a kid.
Apparently, just to kind of tell you how we really feel about it. Normally, something like this, a surprise might have made our good of the night. Neither of us even thought about it.
I didn't even, that and
Willow.
They showed Willow. So I had to.
So
either way.
So when he comes out,
Sabu threw a chair at Daddy Magic. And that's all I needed.
He kind of walked up towards them. They kept calling him crazy and stuff as they're walking up. But
because he's crazy.
Insert a small video package here for the women's championship match at Double or Nothing, because right after that we come back and they're separating the groups. They're all leaving ringside, and we go right into the Daniel Garcia versus Roderick Strong match. That was way too short to really let either of them showcase.
Yeah, that match needed some time. Because just getting those guys in there for a few minutes, and then Garcia's pace is a little bit slower. Like, I don't know much about Roderick Strong, but I know Garcia's pace is a little bit slower. And the way Roderick Strong works, he could definitely go for like a half hour easy. I can tell that just seeing him a couple times.
Yeah.
But so they definitely needed more time for this thing to actually happen, because they didn't get to do very much.
And then Daniel Garcia brought a little back of the pro wrestler side of things, where he was a lot more ferocious and like intense and always like aggressive in the ring. Could be
He's
good.
Ferocious. He was intense.
He was a dancing machine. What are you talking about?
That's what I said. He was ferocious. You didn't see those. You didn't see the gyration. You didn't see those hip thrusts. That was intense. Okay.
You didn't hear the fans chanting, "You can't dance"?
The fans don't know what they're talking about. Daniel Garcia out there is gyrating for the win.
But yeah, this eventually ends with End of Heartache. Now, there was one moment where commentary timed it so perfectly. They're sitting there talking about Roderick Strong's variations of the backbreaker and how it utilizes it, and then he went from what looked like a captured belly to belly to a backbreaker, and I was like, and that's right on cue, and it's a very different looking backbreaker.
Yeah, his backbreakers were, I was like, because every time he did one, I'm like, that looked like, because it always looks like he's doing something that other people do, and it turns into a backbreaker.